Good evening. You all got quiet right on time. Thank you. Dr. Foley, roll call, please.
President Kaler, members of the board, please let the record show that all members are present.
Thank you so much. We're going to have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. 2.1, I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Any questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, motion carries 5-0. Dr. Foley, Superintendent's report, please.
President Kaler, members of the board, tonight we start with one of our very favorite things, which is our points of pride. And tonight we have two schools here with us, and we're going to start with Centennial this evening. So we're going to have Mrs. Bradley and Mr. Verville come on over so that we can celebrate Centennial's points of pride.
Well, good evening. Can you guys hear me? Okay. It's always great to be here for tonight, and we're super excited for, I guess, really everyone, but we'd love to just highlight 4 amazing people that make Centennial just an awesome place to be. So, first, I'd like to start off with our certified staff, Mrs. Maren Cole. Come on up. This year, Mrs. Maren Cole has graciously demonstrated an unwavering commitment to the success of our students and the rebuilding of our school culture. She leads by example with a positive outlook towards everything and anything, no matter what it is thrown at her, whether it be toxic amphibians, venomous desert dwellers, or disrespectful intruders. She remains calm, positive, and hopeful. In the classroom, Mrs. Cole is truly invested in her students' success, both academically and personally. She recognizes students' needs and interest and develops lessons and instructions that are both meaningful and engaging. Outside of the classroom, Mrs. Cole is an extremely supportive and cooperative colleague and professional. She's constantly and consistently there for her team, whether it's an open ear to listen, share a funny joke or story, or just there for constructive feedback and ideas. She's very well respected. We are extremely grateful to have her. Thank you so much.
Yep, and then you get your certificate, and then we'll do your...
Are we going to do a picture with everybody? We do. Okay, so there you go. Thanks. Great to see you. I know you. Thanks, man. Okay, and for our next Points of Pride recipient, Mrs. Estella Flores. I was gonna say, just turn around, because this is like every day. Like, it could be the craziest day, and she's just like smiling. She's like, Mr. V, I'm just happy to be here. I'm like, well, that makes one of us. So, I joke. But we are extremely grateful for you. Thank you so much. We cannot thank her enough for her hard work, attention to detail, care for our campus, and most importantly, just her positive attitude. She has a natural ability to connect with staff, students, and colleagues. She greets everyone she sees with a genuine smile and hello, and shows true pride and joy in all that she does. She's a pleasure to work with, and she has quickly gained the trust of all of our staff just for the day-to-day responsibilities. She's such a hard worker and has an attention to detail and has made a significant and immediate impact on the overall cleanliness and safety of our campus. As many of you from Centennial know, last year was tough, and now it's just a beautiful place to be back at because of all of your hard work. You're tremendously supported by our plant foreman, and he allows you to take care of the things that you need to with that trust. I would also like to thank you for your leadership and your cooperation in the cafeteria and rebuilding that staff. Just the relationships and the attention that she provides in there to our students, it's just a fun release for them to come and just kind of enjoy their lunch and just have that time for themselves. And a lot of that is attributed to you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Just your Centennial family?
You're good. All right, so we're going to go on to our parent volunteer, Miss Daniela Milne. You can come on up. This lady right here is such a lifesaver in all the ways. She also subs for us, and we're so appreciative of you. I just hope you know that. Ms. Milne has been an amazing volunteer for 2 years now. She's always willing to help out whenever and wherever we need and asks what she can do to help the students and any teachers. Ms. Milne is very engaging with the students and cares deeply about how they think and how they learn. When she comes in, she brings in realia to share with the students. For example, when she was working on a writing lesson, it was about sharks, so the next day she brought in shark teeth to share with the kids that she had found and collected. Students love to share stories with her. She gives her whole self to anyone that is talking to her and is genuinely invested in each student's learning and exploration of new ideas and concepts. She always goes above and beyond what is asked of her and truly makes an amazing experience for our students. She is very positive and a loving person and makes students and teachers feel important and valued. So thank you very much. Would you like to share who's here with you today? Yep. So we've got the little ones here, if you want to say like who you brought.
Oh, I brought my 3 kids. Oliver is my oldest in 6th grade, Isla is my middle in 5th grade, and Everett is my youngest in 2nd grade.
Thank you. There's that. Yes. Okay. All right, we're just getting close.
Yeah, you gotta just get close. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. And of course, we are saving the best for last. Miss Rose Cope, come on up. We've had the awesome experience of having Rose since the very beginning in kindergarten, and we're very proud of the young lady that she's evolved into and grown, but she's always maintained that sweet, gentle spirit and just a fun-loving attitude towards school. So I see the look, maybe not at home, but at school, that's how she is. So we're gonna read what one of your teachers wrote about you, okay? So Mrs. Cole says, Rose Cope is one of the hardest working and kindest students I have ever had the pleasure of teaching. Concepts do not always come easily to her, but she throws herself into every task with her whole heart. She asks questions until she understands what to do and always goes the extra degree at every opportunity. Rose constantly looks out for others every single day. She makes sure people know what they need to do or how to get where they need to be, but more importantly, that they're feeling good about themselves and that they always have a friend in Rose. I cannot think of a better example of a student who exemplifies what Acting 212 is about. We also are going to go on to say a few more things about you. We are extremely proud of all the hard work and dedication Rose has demonstrated over the time she has been here at Centennial. We know that she will continue to do amazing things well beyond our school walls and look forward to the many more accomplishments she will achieve. And we hope that you come back and visit us even when you move on to Sossaman next year, okay? Okay. And then you're going to get to talk about who you brought. So Rose has a huge family, and we've had the pleasure of having them at our school as well, but she's going to introduce, because we have some other people here as well. So you want to introduce who you brought?
I brought Stevie, my dad Curtis, my oldest brother Hank, my second oldest brother Sam, and my grandma Darcy, and my uncle Jack. And then I know a few people here: Miss Lowry, Miss Cole, Miss Smith, and Miss Holloway.
Yes. Awesome. So this is yours. Okay, so we're going to do a picture.
You must be one amazing young lady, and we're so proud of you. Okay, I love your name. Congratulations.
We're so proud of our Centennial Points of Pride. I now am excited to invite Mr. Mercado and Mrs. Lindsay Reeves up here so that we can celebrate our Santan Points of Pride.
I was told I couldn't dance.
Well, we have space.
All right. We are excited for this opportunity. Thank you so much. Thank you, President Kaler, board members, Dr. Foley, cabinet, all the Santan peeps. Thank you for coming out. And everybody else, thank you. I asked for more time and they said, no, stay to the script. So stay into the script. But I'm going to change this order, so that's my little. We are going to start with our student, Jackson Winley. Come up, Jackson. Jackson has shown a lot of interest in learning every year. He has been an excellent student all these years in DLI, not only academically, but his behaviors have always been positive, being a true example of the 8 habits while he is in class and outside of the class as well. He likes to help his classmates, and he has great leadership skills. He is also the co-chair of, what are you the co-chair of?
Club de Liderazgo en Español.
Wow, pretty impressive. He recently spoke on our morning announcements in Spanish about Hispanic Heritage Month. Jackson is an amazing leader of the 8 habits in Spanish and English. Awesome job, sir. Who did you bring with you?
My mom, Amy, and my dad, Blair.
Awesomeness right here, awesomeness.
Good job, good job. Keep it up.
Our next awesome employee is Miss Dawn Litwin. I could just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and so can Dawn. So I'm going to stay to the script. Ms. Litwin is a dedicated and supportive educator on our campus. If a student or colleague is in need, the answer is always yes. What can I do? She is constantly challenging her students on a daily basis to be critical thinkers and lifelong learners. If students need extra assistance before or after school, she's always willing to support them. Dawn, they need to sign in. When are they coming, Dawn? Oh, I just tell them to come whenever they want. They need help. That's Dawn's attitude, and so absolutely love that we will do what we need to do to support kids all the time. Attitude. When Santen was asked to host a robotics program several years ago, she volunteered and said, I have no clue what I am doing. But to this day, we have a thriving robotics program at Santen because of your dedication, your support, and your love for kids. And so thank you for all you do in that program. See, I got off script. Mrs. Litwin is a true team player on campus. Mrs. Butow said she spent her lunch period entertaining the fourth graders with a giant game of charades during a heat advisory day with no lunch recess. The kids were engaged, entertained, and mostly not out of control. What a team player. Awesome job. Thank you for everything you do at Santen. Who'd you bring?
My husband, Rob, my son, Zachary, and a lot of great parents, and my staff members that I love working with. I appreciate you all.
Principal.
And some students.
And some students. Look at that. Woo-hoo.
Good job, Dawn. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Karen. Our next awesome individual is Miss Karen Smith, our building manager for classified staff. Karen is another one of those individuals that comes to work and just gets the job done. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Let's get it done. Our campus, I believe, is a really clean and tidy campus, and I can tell you it's because of me. No, it's Karen. She gets there every morning, and she makes sure that campus is clean and it's safe for all of our students and staff, and she takes great pride in everything that she does in her job. Karen is just amazing. She does everything. Karen keeps the school running and teachers happy with meeting our needs quickly and efficiently. She keeps the air conditioner running and always makes sure I have working desks, chairs, and tables. Karen also makes sure school events run smoothly and volunteers have what they need to have a successful school activity. That's from Dawn Litwin. Did you guys? Let's see here. Karen is always available to help all staff members. She takes care of all the building maintenance from repairs to assembly and moving furniture, cleaning, supervising, painting, etc. Karen also covers crossing guard duties when assigned, which is a lot, and does it with a smile. Karen is a valuable and multi-talented employee at Santen, and that's from Miss Ryan. Karen wears so many different hats and gives her all to Santen as well as the campus, from covering crossing guard to helping in the lunchroom, moving furniture, cleaning various code calls, moving all the furniture in and out around campus, picking up slack from the custodial duties to full on being our amazing building manager, plant foreman, foreperson, and all things in between. Karen, like all, has good and bad, but she does her very best to get everything done on a daily basis. Karen takes great pride and joy in what she does to make Santen the best around. Thank you, Karen. And who did you bring?
I made my son Austin come tonight. He's in the back. And then everybody from Santan's here and a couple friends. So, yay!
Thank you, Karen. I will tell you, we are absolutely thankful and blessed for all of the parent volunteers on our campus. Each year, that first day, meet the teacher, I have parents, when can we start? When can we start volunteering? And so we give a timeline of when we start our volunteers, but I will tell you, we have some committed individuals in our community that support our teachers every single day if they ask. And so really appreciate our volunteers at Santan. Today we are recognizing Alicia Simmons. Please come up. Alicia has been an amazing help to myself and Ms. Ojeda over the last quarter. As a new teacher, my to-do list is quite long. She reached out asking if she could come in once a week and make copies for us. She faithfully shows up each Thursday and stays for about an hour to make our copies for the upcoming week. She is flexible and has been very dependable. She has lightened our loads, and I'm so thankful for her, and that's from Mrs. Clough. And then Alicia is a huge supporter of our PTO. She offers to help with setup and cleanup for staff luncheons. She has helped prep core for events, set up for carnival, and assists at events when she can. She's always someone I can count on when we need an extra hand, and that's from our PTO president, Jen Zauer. I just want to say thank you for all the support that you give our teachers, our school. It makes a tremendous difference, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is. Anything that you can take off their plate is truly appreciated. So thank you so much.
The million places
Did you bring anyone?
normally runs with them.
All my people are living their life. They are running around crazy, but I do have my family.
Tell your family this didn't get out until like 8 or 9 o'clock, so go.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to our Santan Points of Pride. We enjoyed celebrating you this evening. President Kaler, members of the board, I'll continue with the superintendent's report. We have just some upcoming events. As you know, this is just a glimpse of the many things that we have coming up this month. In fact, this evening we have multiple things happening around this district, including the Electrify Your Strings event over at the Performing Arts Center. But we have some upcoming meetings, we have school visits, we have our Higley Achievement Foundation's fundraiser for student scholarships coming up. So the month of November, even with lots of other holiday and family events happening, has lots of things happening in Higley. And that concludes this evening's superintendent's report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Foley. And we have nobody for request to speak. We're moving on to consent agenda items 5.1 through 5.13. I move that we approve as presented.
Second.
Any questions or comments? I know, can you open up gifts, please, Curtis? Thank you. I always like to recognize, it goes a lot to be fundraising. It takes a lot to fundraise, and so hats off to Power Ranch, who said use the money where it's needed at most. I love that, $18,000. And the Higley High School Boosters, I know they have a big retreat coming up, and they raised 13. And then we have Amazon. Was that Amazon that gave us money for our Fine Arts Festival for $1,000? So thanks, Amazon, although I think we all support them enough that, you know, at least my house does. So thank you to those. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Got to turn the microphone. Motion carries 5-0. We'll get this right, Curtis, for you. Okay, so next up, we are going to go into some presentations tonight, and our first one is 6.1, Special Procurement Audit.
Yeah. Good evening, President Kaler, members of the board. Just before I let Mr. Dennis Maskey present the results of our procurement audit, I wanted to remind the board why we are doing this and why this came about. So back in July 22nd, 2021, the Arizona Auditor General Office presented evidence to the state grand jury, which led to the indictment of 4 individuals for combined 27 felony counts related to procurement fraud, fraudulent schemes and practices, fraudulent schemes and misuse of public monies, conflict of interest, filing a false return, and conspiracy. The district, received that report and immediately wanted to clear its name, as none of those individuals listed in that report were currently working for the district. So we then approached our attorneys and brought to the governing board on December 8th a consent judgment where the district was agreeing to terms, one of them being a procurement audit, in addition to 2 annual trainings from an attorney with our general administrator group regarding procurement practices to kind of recluse in itself from this report and kind of close the report in Higley Unified for any future consequences, whether it be fiscally or personal. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Dennis Maskey with CWDL, who conducted the special procurement audit. This is separate from our annual audit, which is still being completed. And this took a look back the last 3 years, but without further ado, I'll let Dennis present that.
Thank you. Good evening, President Kaler, members of the governing board. So like Tyler was saying, we're going to go through the results of the procurement audit that we did. And so the purpose of the audit was because there were some violations and the consent to judgment with the Attorney General. So that's where we came in. And the scope of the audit is pretty inclusive to all the procurement that happens with the district. It's all procurement of major construction projects over $1 million. We looked at all of your sole source vendors. We looked at all emergency procurements, which there wasn't any in the year we audited. All cooperative purchasing over $100,000. All procurements over $100,000. And then that needed to be issued and was issued with the Attorney General by the end of October. And so all the construction procurement projects, there was 2 vendors identified. With sole source, there was 10 vendors identified. Cooperative purchases, there was 23 contracts we tested, and we also tested 3 procurements over 100,000, which basically is all the procurement that happens at the district for fiscal year 22 over 100,000. We basically looked at everything that was done over that threshold. Audit results. So this is going to be pretty quick because we didn't find much, which is really good. We had one finding in the area of sole source procurement, in which your sole source vendors all need to be approved by the governing board. So some of those purchases went through a determination for sole source. It just didn't get to the action items for the governing board to approve those. So the purchases were being approved, but it didn't have that last step of the action of the governing board approving those as sole source vendors. Everything with the major construction projects, everything looked good, as well as the cooperative purchases and any other procurement over $100,000. And that's really it. I mean, really short, but you know, we looked at a lot of, you know, all of your projects basically over 100,000, and we just found one minor item. So overall, for fiscal year 22, procurement looked really good. And you know, I want to thank the staff and Tyler and his team. They did a great job getting us our information, and it was a really smooth process.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
President Kaler?
Yes, Mrs. Reese.
Just wanted to clarify on that sole source that the board did approve the purchase and the price. The cost came through the board. It was just that it wasn't flagged as a sole source. So that Mr. Moore's been made aware of that, and that's been corrected going forward. But it's not that a large purchase went through without board approval. It was just, like you said, the tag of the sole source, since it was a specialized item. So.
Yes, it was for our mobile bleachers, so it's right here in front of us. So thank you so much for helping us and closing this chapter for us. We appreciate your time so much.
Yep. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Our next information item, I believe, is going to be our school letter grades that were just released. Dr. Foley.
President Kaler, members of the board. This evening, our director of assessment is at a conference, and he is currently right now, I believe, online if we have questions. But one of the things that he did in anticipation of knowing that he'd be with his team at the Synergy conference is that he recorded some information. When we recorded this, we knew that legislatively that by November 1st, letter grades had to be out. But a lot of decisions have been happening pretty quickly in the state, which is what figuring were they going to do in order to determine what is an A, what is a B, what is a C, and what does that mean? And so by the time he had recorded this, they had not been released yet. They were released very late on Halloween, Monday evening. So tonight it is going to be some more information about how the grades are calculated. We're then going to show the grades. And then in our next meeting in November, he's going to be back and we're going to do a deep dive into each of our schools and understanding. One of the things this team has been doing is building a beautiful website that we will be sharing that has links for information that helps people truly understand how these scores and our grades are calculated, because it's really important to understand what and how goes into why we may have a certain score. So this evening we have just a quick little informational session from Marcus, and then we will answer any questions, and hopefully he's online. But know that at our next meeting, we're going to go a deeper dive into how each of our schools were calculated.
Good evening, President Kaler and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. My objective in tonight's presentation is to provide you with the details of how the A through F letter grades are calculated at both the K-8 and 9-12 levels. School letter grades are required to be released to the public no later than November 1st, and I will return at the next board meeting to review each site's letter grade and component scores. As of this recording, we have not received the final letter grades from the state. Our focus tonight is on our Strategic Anchor 1, Teaching and Learning Student Success. Specifically, we are focused on Indicator 1.5, supporting a collaborative culture using data and research-based practices. I wanted to briefly remind you of the component scoring for both the K-8 and 9-12 models. For K-8, 30% of the score is based on student proficiency on AASA, 50% is based on student growth from AZM2 in 2021 to AASA this past spring. 10% is based on EL proficiency and growth, and 10% is based on acceleration readiness measures. There is also the possibility of bonus points, with science providing up to 3% and special education enrollment up to 2% additional points for a school. For 9-12, 30% of the school's letter grade is proficiency on the ACT. 20% will be based on growth from AZM2 as 10th graders in 2021 to the ACT this past spring. EL proficiency and growth will also be 10%. The school's graduation rate is 20% and the CCRI is 20%. I will go into more detail on how each of these are calculated for both K-8 and 9-12 over the course of my presentation. Before I share how the scores are calculated, I wanted to share with you that there are a number of acronyms that I may be using throughout the presentation. FAY means full academic year. ELA is English Language Arts. AZELA is the Arizona State Assessment for English Learners. EL means English Learner. AASA is Arizona's Academic Standards Assessment for grades 3 through 8 for ELA and math. MSAA is the Multi-State Alternate Assessment for grades 3 through 8 and 11 for ELA and math, and grades 5, 8, and 11 for science. AZ-SCI is Arizona's science test for grades 5, 8, and 11. ACT is our statewide high school achievement test for cohort 2023 for both ELA and math. And then ACT Aspire is the statewide high school achievement test for cohort 2025 that will be used to calculate growth in ELA and math starting in 2024. FAY is one of the most important terms that we will be working with for A through F. The state determines FAY based on the following criteria. 1 year full academic year are students enrolled within the first 10 school days of the school's calendar and continuously enrolled until the first weekday in May, which was May 2nd, 2022. 2 year FAY are students who are FAY 2 consecutive years in a row at the same school. 3 year FAY are students who are FAY 3 consecutive years in a row at the same school. And AZELA FAY are students enrolled within the first 10 school days of the school's calendar and continuously enrolled until the last day of the AZELA state testing window, which was March 18th, 2022. The first calculation that I want to share with you tonight is the calculation for proficiency, which is 30% of the letter grade for both K-8 and 9-12. A school site can actually earn more than 30 points in this category, but they are only allowed to receive up to 30 points. Student performance is weighted for the proficiency calculation using their performance on both ELA and math on AASA or MSAA. This means that schools receive points for students that were partially proficient and highly proficient, with partially proficient students counting for 0.6 points, proficient at 1 point, and highly proficient students at 1.3 points. Due to the higher weight for highly proficient students, schools can earn more than the 30 points possible for this category, but remember that they are capped at 30. Proficiency is calculated in 2 different ways, with the school receiving the better of the 2 scores. One method looks at proficiency of all FAY students using the formula you see on the slide. The other method weights students' proficiency on both achievement level, but also how many years the student has been FAY, with adjustments for sites that may only have a maximum of 2 years of FAY, such as our middle schools. From my past experience, there is generally very little difference between the 2 scores, usually less than a point. Growth is worth 50% at the K-8 level and 20% at the 9-12 level. Both models use a student growth percentile calculation to determine the growth score. I'll provide more of an explanation of how student growth percentiles are determined on the next slide, but essentially we are looking at a student's growth on the current year's assessment compared to other students with the exact same prior year test score. For this year, the model will use the difference in scale score between AZM2 and AASA, or ACT, and only look at full academic year students. Once students have a percentile assigned to them, then they are classified into 3 levels ranging from low to high. The growth score for the school is then calculated using a weighted measure that looks at their prior year achievement, minimally proficient, partially proficient, proficient, or highly proficient, and their student growth percentile category. Since high growth for a prior year minimally proficient student has a weight of 2, and similar for partially proficient and proficient, there is a chance that a school could earn more than the weight of the category, so the score is capped at 50 for K-8 and 20 for 9-12. I'd like to spend a little time on how student growth percentiles are determined. When students take a state assessment, in addition to getting a performance level such as partially proficient or proficient, they also have a scale score assigned to them, which is a way for researchers to compare different tests. Student growth percentiles compare students that begin with the same scale score, then ranks their improvement on the next year's test in relation to each other. Here we have two students, Jane and John, that both took the AZM2 ELA test in 3rd grade and the AASA ELA test in 4th grade. They both earned a scale score of 434 on AASA this past spring. However, Jane earned a 301 scale score and John earned a 364 scale score on AZM2 in 2021. As a result, Jane and John are compared to a different group of students to determine their student growth percentile. Jane is compared to all students in Arizona that scored a 301 in 2021. Looking at the chart, her score of 434 in 2022 places her near the top of all students who started with a 301. So as a result, she earned an SGP of 90. In contrast, John is compared to all students in Arizona that scored a 364 in 2021. His score of 434, compared to the other students that started with the 364, places him near the bottom of the range, and as a result, he earned an SGP of 20. Because student growth percentiles compare like students across Arizona from the administration of AZM2 in 2021 to the administration of AASA in 2022, it is important for us to review the context between those 2 years in Arizona. During the 2020-2021 school year, there was a wide range of learning modalities that students engaged in throughout the state. Some were in person, but many were remote for most, if not all, of the year. Higley students, however, were in person for most of the year. There's a great deal of evidence that shows that in-person learning, even disrupted, was more effective than remote. In the 2021-2022 school year, though, students across the state were far more likely to be in person for the whole year. Therefore, there is a good chance that those students that were remote in 2020-2021 and back in person in 2021-2022 may have shown more scale score growth than our students that were in person both years. The unfortunate reality of using student growth percentiles is that even if our students are growing, that growth is compared to others in the state. So even a lot of growth can result in a low growth percentile if everyone else grows even more. EL proficiency and growth is worth 10%. Proficiency, which is worth 5%, requires that a school have at least 10 Azella phase students, while growth, which is worth 5%, requires that at least 10 Azella phase students also have a second test record. Some of our sites will not have the required 10 Azella phase students. In those situations, their overall A through F score will be out of 90 points rather than the full 100 points. For the 5% proficiency measure, each school's reclassification percentage is compared to the current year state's percentage. Schools then earn 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 points based on how high above the mean they are. For the 5% growth measure, each student's growth on Azella reassessment from the previous year is weighted and then compared to the state's growth percentage. Again, schools earn 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 points based on how high above the mean they are. The K-8 model's final 10% is made up of acceleration readiness measures. This category is capped at 10 points, even though there are far more than 10 points available. Each component requires a minimum of 10 phase students, except for chronic absenteeism. The different categories are Grade 8 Math Performance, Grade 3 ELA Minimally Proficient, Chronic Absenteeism, Subgroup Improvement, and Special Education Inclusion. Our middle schools have the opportunity to earn 5 out of the 10 possible points through their 8th grade math performance. By increasing their percentage of students that are highly proficient and decreasing the percentage of students that are minimally proficient on the 8th grade math assessment, they can earn 2.5 points for each. Additionally, those points can also be earned if we have more than 60% of our students highly proficient and fewer than 10% minimally proficient. Our elementary schools have the opportunity to earn 5 out of 10 points by decreasing the percentage of students minimally proficient in ELA in 3rd grade. Alternatively, if a school has fewer than 12% of their students minimally proficient, they can also earn the 5 points. Chronic absenteeism is worth 2 points. This includes all students in grades 1 through 8, except for those students that are flagged as chronically ill. In order to be considered chronically absent, a student has to have greater than 10% absences, whether excused or unexcused. A school can earn points in this component by either decreasing their prior year's chronic absenteeism or having a current year rate of 4% or less. Schools can earn up to 6 points out of 10 by improving the proficiency of their subgroups in both ELA and math from the previous year. Each subgroup that has at least 10 FAE students is evaluated using the same weighted proficiency calculation as the overall proficiency score, and compared to the prior year's subgroup proficiency in both ELA and math. All of our sites have multiple subgroups and, as a result, have multiple opportunities to earn the 6 points. Schools can also earn 2 out of the 10 points by placing a greater than the state average of FAE special education students in the general education classroom for 80% or more of their day. Graduation rate for 9 through 12 schools counts for 20% of their score. This is determined by looking at their 4, 5, 6, and 7-year cohort rates and receiving a weighted rate up to 10 points for each cohort, with the 4-year cohort receiving the greatest weight. The other 10% is determined by looking at graduation rate improvement or maintaining a high rate. Schools can get 10 points for having a 4-year graduation rate greater than or equal to 90%, or improving their rate by more than 2 points. If their 4-year graduation rate is between 2 below or 2 above their prior year, then they will earn 5 points. The final component of the 9-12 scores is the college and career ready, which is 20% of their score. This is compiled and reported by the Assessment and Student Information Team with input from the sites and the Assistant Director of CTE. Schools can earn up to 23 points for this component based on accumulation of individual student points. Each student receives indicator points based on the College and Career Ready rubric. 1 indicator point gives the student 10 CCR points. 2 indicator points generates 20 CCR points for the student, and having 1 point on the college side and 1 point on the career side of the rubric will generate 22 CCR points for a student. The CCR points for students are then totaled and divided by the total number of students in the cohort to determine a school's total points. Schools can earn a variety of bonus points. They can earn 1, 1.5, or 2 points for enrolling special education students based on a percentage of the state average of enrollment. They can also earn 1.5 or 3 points for their performance on the AZ-PSI test, as long as they administered it to more than 95% of their eligible FAE students. And then finally, 9 through 12 schools can also earn 1.5 or 3 points for their participation on ACT Aspire. The State Board of Education set the cut scores for this year's letter grades on October 17th. The K-8 cut scores are the same ones that were originally established in 2016 and have been consistent since that time. Due to the addition of ACT for 9-12 rather than a state assessment, the 9-12 cut scores are new and based on a standard deviation model. As I shared at the beginning, letter grades are required to be released no later than November 1st. As of this recording, they had not been released. I will be meeting with site leadership over the next 2 weeks to review their letter grades and begin discussing areas of improvement and celebrations. Additionally, I will be sharing the letter grades with you at the next board meeting and how each of our sites scored in each component. I apologize for not being present today, but if you have any questions, please share those with Dr. Foley and I will follow up with you as soon as possible. Thank you for your time tonight.
President Kaler, members of the board, we're going to pull up real quickly just so that we can acknowledge the letter grades. And then, here we go. As you can see, and again, we'll go more into this next week. As you can see, we have 8 A schools, and A means excellent or distinguished performance, in 5 B schools, which means highly performing, demonstrating high performance on statewide assessment. As you heard from the calculation, a score isn't just as simple as a score. There are many components that go into figuring out letter grades, and it's really important for us to look deeply at. Obviously, one of the most important things we do in addition to safety and security is the education of our students, and how we use data across the board, including this one indicator, is really important. And so understanding that is one of the things that we use in our system. And so we're utilizing this information with our leadership, and we're also going to come back next time so that we can share a little bit more with you about what we've learned and what we're working on.
Thank you, Dr. Foley. And I may have a very different opinion than most, but constantly changing the tests and constantly changing the standard does not develop a standard. And I think this calculation and the way that they did it, the growth and not taking into consideration those schools that were in person for a very long period of time versus those that were not, I think this is the most complicated grading system that I've seen in my tenure as a board member, and it's completely unfair. So I stand by what we do here in Higley, and we've done it well. And I hope and I pray that the teachers out there and our staff members that were given Bs do not feel defeated tonight. We support you, and we know that there is great things happening in your schools. I know specifically even Gateway has had some tremendous growth. And so I have goosebumps right now as I'm talking because this just infuriates me. But anyways, that's our state for us, and we will just respect their decision even while I may disagree.
President Kaler. Dr. Foley, aren't we very close on a few of these Bs? So is there some wiggle or no? That the state will go back, and is there anything, go ahead.
President Kaler, Board Member Wilson, obviously there's an appeal process, and we look very carefully. We're really lucky to have a very strong team that helps us look at that to determine. I will tell you that President Kaler, your sentiments are shared by many across the state who are looking at this and what it means to them and their system, particularly for those schools who were in person quite a bit the previous year. And again, the amount of the gross score and its impact on the overall letter grades. The other component many people are concerned about is the idea of a chronic absenteeism in the middle of navigating COVID, when the message was, if you are not well, stay home. Being that again, that we utilized some of the existing components in this, obviously there's a lot of frustration. I think the important part is for us to go back to understanding how these are calculated and using these for how it's meaningful, and keep doing the good things that we are doing every single day, and that's what we will focus on. But we really truly want people to understand, when you see that, it's not that something wasn't done well. In fact, in many cases, when we break down each school and show you the amazing things that are happening in those highly performing B schools, you're going to see growth. You're going to see positive momentum. You're going to see good things that are happening. And just like all things, if there's opportunities, we identify what those are and how we address them. So overall, I think we're approaching this very healthy, and we want everyone to understand it. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcus.
You're welcome.
Have a good night. We appreciate you.
Thank you all.
Okay. All right. Moving on. 6.3 is just a report. Are there any questions for our first quarter special education day school report? Okay. Thank you very much, Mrs. Miller. Staying under budget too. I noticed. Very well done. And then we have our Human Resource Quarterly ESI report. Any questions or concerns? Okay, thank you very much. Preschool update. And we have Mrs. Patty Gleason in the house. Turn it over.
So excited to be here. Good evening, President Kaler, members of the governing board, Dr. Foley, and members of the cabinet. I'm Patty Gleason, director of the Early Childhood Development Centers, and this is Stacy Utley, my assistant director. We are celebrating 10 years of early childhood excellence this year, and we are here to give you an update on what we've been doing these 10 years and a proposal as well. So I take it this is fine? Okay. All right. So if you'll take a look at that picture right there, those triplets that you see on that picture were one of our first graduating classes. They are now freshmen in high school. They were pretty amazing. They were my students. Yes. So it's been an amazing journey, and boy, have we learned a lot and grown a lot over these 10 years. But it all started once upon a time back in July of 2013. 2 state-of-the-art preschools were placed on the campuses of our middle schools, and we welcomed 335 students to Alona Cooley, and we welcomed 345 students to Sioux Sossaman, ECDC. The little Cougars and the little Spartans were born. I don't know why I get so nervous, but I am, so I'm so sorry. Okay. So, we have been an extraordinary program from the very beginning. A standout among Valley preschools, and our mission states it perfectly, if I may read. Our certified early childhood educators and staff inspire curiosity, build problem-solving skills, self-esteem, and foster a love for learning in our young children within a nurturing and play-based environment. Not only did we have highly qualified teaching staff at both of our centers, but we were thoughtful about adding unique programs that also set us apart. Our dual language programs, Mandarin at Cooley and Spanish at Sossaman, and our Think highly gifted preschool program that is also at Sossaman. It gave families more educational choices for their young children. And in our preschool, it's all about connection and relationships, something I think we really do well, but we seek to build them with the children and families that we serve and with our Higley community too. Conscious discipline is one of those ways we share with our community. We actually have workshops for our families and HUSD employees every year. And this year, we had so many people enroll in the class, and you can see the picture there. We had to move from Cooley to the DO in this very boardroom, and it was pretty amazing. Almost 90 people attended that night. It was very exciting. Another thing that we do that I have been very proud of, and it's part of the dream that I've had for our centers, is that for the last 3 years, we've partnered with Higley High and Williamsfield High Schools, their CTE, early education or early childhood development programs. We have several cohorts of high school students that come to Cooley, and they're in our classrooms, participating with the teachers, hands-on activities, and learning all about early childhood right from the beginning there with such great mentors. But again, we're growing our next generation of early childhood educators. It's pretty exciting. And then we also partner with Sossaman Middle School to welcome teacher assistants into the classrooms. And I see that I missed one here. We've also been partnering with Arizona's First Things First over the years. And both centers are now enrolled in the program. Sossaman actually has been grandfathered in. When we opened in 2013, our classrooms were already a part of the program because Cortina classrooms were. And so when we absorbed their teachers, we absorbed that as well. But this year, Cooley was also enrolled in the program. All right. So through the years, we have served over 8,300 students. We've increased our tuition only twice since we opened in 2013. We are well known throughout this community, and it's pretty amazing that a lot of our enrollments come from parent referrals, which to me is the highest compliment that they could ever give us. And we are currently at 89% capacity at Cooley and 96% capacity at Sossaman. So we are growing, and it's wonderful. It feels great. Which brings us to the gift of the present. Hold on 1 second. Oh, there we go. Hold on. I think I have to, there it goes. I just have to let it, wait time. See, I got to practice wait time too. Okay. So our current enrollment is 830 students. We have 660 tuition students and 170 special education students between both of our preschools this year. We have 34 certified teachers and 56 classified staff between both centers, and we have an additional 10 certified staff with our preschool eval team, speech, OT, PT, and VI services on both campuses. Our staff salary and benefits are covered by the tuition that we charge, and we are continuing to rebuild a contingency fund to ensure sustainability as a standalone program in Higley Unified. We are currently receiving grant funding from the Child Care Stabilization Grant and scholarship and tuition assistance from Quality First and DES. No, it's going the wrong way. And it keeps kind of looping. Thank you.
There it is.
Oh, there it is. Okay, thank you. A little help is always nice. Thank you. So it's never too early to start looking towards the future and looking at the future of our early childhood centers. So salary and benefits costs continue to rise yearly, and our certified teachers and staff are the reason that our families seek out our program. So we want to make sure that we can maintain that over the years. In addition to our salary and benefits costs rising, there are increased supply costs, and now a 30% average increase for substitute teachers that we use for our program as well. As we look forward, we want to be able to maintain our high-quality program and continue offering unique experiences for our students because so many of them stay right here in Higley. We capture them and then they stay. And that's why we're proposing a tuition increase for the 23-24 school year. And Stacy is going to share those numbers with you.
I might need that, although I'm afraid of it a little bit now. Okay, I get to tell you what a great value, along with all those wonderful things we are, what a great value we are in the East Valley as well. Currently, we are charging for our full-day kinder prep classrooms $710, and we propose to go to $750. As you can see, the schools in between, which are on the East Valley, are anywhere in between in that same range. We are currently at about $5.63 an hour, and we'll go to $5.95. So it's just a small increase that we think that our families will be able to manage. Okay. I'm putting it forward.
Yeah, he's going to do it for us.
Very good. Okay. Thank you. Our half-day classes, our current price monthly tuition is $370, and our proposal is to go to $400. The school districts in the nearby area charge anywhere from $331, well, $280, I guess, for PM, up to $420. So that still puts us in the range. And these numbers that we're looking at, other than Chandler, will probably go up. These are this year's numbers, and most of the districts are all looking at increases as well with everything going up. And the last slide, very good, worked. This shows all of our Brilliant Beginnings programs. As you can see, the Brilliant Beginnings full day and the first for 5 days, and the Brilliant Beginnings half day for 5 days, that 710 and the 370 that you just saw on the other slides, is the same price for the Brilliant Beginnings. As you recall, Brilliant Beginnings is our 3s and early 4s. Kinder Prep is those kids that are going to kinder the following year. So you can see the prices we want. The proposal is from $710 to $750, $430 to $460, $300 to $330, $370 to $400, and so on, and the lowest. And in the research that we've done, there are very few private programs, much less school programs, that have those part week programs. So we're quite a good value in that area as well. Questions?
Any questions?
Go ahead, Mrs. Wilson.
I just want to say how fantastic it is to visit the preschools. I've been able to visit Cooley probably more than Sossaman, but it is just fabulous to see those little kids, and they're just our earliest learners, and you guys just do such a great job, and I just want to give you props publicly because I don't think we always get to, and I just think you guys are fantastic. Your team, the whole staff is just great. I got to see the puppet show, I think, last year, and those kids were so excited for the field trip of the puppet show to come into their school, and I really just enjoy you guys, and I'm going to miss you when I'm no longer sitting in the seat.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can always come to the puppet show.
Thank you, Mrs. Gleason and Mrs. Utley. Sossaman and Cooley both get the best reviews everywhere out there. Social media, neighborhood chat, you name it. I've never seen anything negative about our preschools. They are just really the top notch in this area, and I know that they bless many, and I love the fact that we do offer so many different options because so many other preschools don't do that. So thank you for that, and we appreciate you both so very much. And Patty, never be nervous up here. We just love and adore you. So but I don't think we have any. Do you have a question? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, how many nice things do we have to say to make sure Patty doesn't leave ever?
She kind of gave me a date, so I'm
Oh,
like,
I don't want to even think about that. I mean, the only thing that I can say is that my daughter was in 2013, at Cooley, and then dropping her off at junior high, which felt like a minute later, was just the saddest thing at Cooley. That's the only thing. But the program's amazing, and it's very affordable for parents compared to other programs out there.
Yes.
Especially what you get with it too.
Yes, for the certified teachers and just everything that we offer, these prices are well within the range of today, and I don't think there'll be any issues with that. So we appreciate you
Great.
and all you
Thank
do.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Next up, we have our community education presentation.
Good evening, President Kaler and members of the board. Thank you for your continuous support and all your leadership for our district. I am Kimberly Ohanian, the Community Education Assistant Director. This presentation is to inform the board and the community members on a short update on our programming and our proposed rate increase to offset raising expenses. First, I'd like to provide you with a highlight of our current program. I so enjoyed sharing community education programming with you all at the August Governing Board meeting, and I'd like to give you a short update on what we've been up to since then. Over fall break, we held elementary camp at Coronado and preschool camp over at Cooley. Each room had a theme with student-decorated doors. So there, you'll see a picture of our traditions room, which was a student favorite. We celebrated Dia de los Muertos and had a British tea party. The top center left photo is from our thanks and giving room, where on this day we made 270 blessing bags. So we partnered with Matthews Crossings and donated these bags with snacks and hygiene products from students and families in need. On the right side is from our pre-K sites during one of our dress-up days in a fun science project. Overall, 300 students per day participated in fall camp, and we were able to generate $95,000 in revenue. We are looking forward to our winter camp, which will be hosted at Santan Elementary and Cooley Preschool, as we are planning an all-day fun adventure at Fat Cats, heading to the movies to see Polar Express and Elf, and what's a winter without having a fake snowball fight? Registration is open, and we anticipate filling up. So to our community, register today. Additionally, our Higley Youth Sports League continues to grow in participation. For Q2, we had 520 students which enrolled in sports. Out of the 10 teams, we were able to offer a site-based basketball team at 6 of our schools, with actually 2 of those schools having 2 teams. We added in lacrosse as a new sport, and we have 30 kids participating in that. You will see more communication for Q3, which will start the week of January 9th. So be on the lookout for after Thanksgiving for more information. We invite those interested to register now or to reach out to us for some more coaching opportunities. So thank you for your support. Shifting gears, we'd like to take this opportunity to share some ideas regarding Kids Club fees. This recent year, we have noticed increases in everyday products we use to keep our program thriving. From gas prices, paper products, cleaning supplies, professional development courses, and even snack prices are rising. With the current job market, we need to be competitive in what we're able to offer our employees. Kids Club is offering unique experiences to our students, and we want to maintain that high quality and consistency. We are experiencing an ongoing demand for our program, and we need to ensure sustainability. Community education has a goal to build a contingency fund, as we are not part of the state's formula in the district's operating budget. Increasing fees will support in this effort in maintaining a self-sufficient department. We are experiencing ongoing demand for our program, and we want to ensure we stay on that demand. Our current rates include a $50 registration fee for the school year and a $25 registration fee for the summer. This does not change in our proposal. Our suggestion would be add a $25 registration fee to the other intercession camps that we do offer. This will help offset those additional costs. Our current morning portion of our program is a $9 flat fee and a $13.50 for the afternoon, and this includes half days. The proposal rate is for $11.50 for the morning, $16.50 for the afternoon, and a $20 rate for those early release days. The daily rate for camp this year is $40 per day. This would change to $45 and for $50 for those special event days. On average, we have about 1 or 2 of those special events that happen during camp, and this would be either an on-site field trip or an off-site field trip. This illustrates our proposed rates in comparison to our neighboring districts. While our rates may seem slightly higher in some categories, I do know that other districts are proposing increases this year due to the current market conditions. But unlike other districts, we do not add unreasonable additional fees to our families, as you can see them noted on the bottom. So I want to thank you, President Kaler, and members of the board in taking this proposal into consideration. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Did the board have any questions? Mrs. Wilson?
I actually sent my question before, and I thank you guys for getting, I asked how much the other places around us were charging, because I think that's more important sometimes than what the districts around us charge. And I was happy to see our rates were well within what some of the outside before and after school care gives. So thank you for sending that. Thank you for doing that research for me, because I found that very helpful.
You're very welcome.
Yes, you guys sent us a very detailed report, so appreciate your time and energy on that. Yeah, again, the great programs. I know there's some families out there that are so excited that the sports are back in our after-school community ed programs. They're excited for Q3, and we said we're going to get it out there. We are working on it, but we appreciate you very much, and thank you for this great presentation.
Thank you very much, President Kaler, and members of the board.
Well done.
Great job.
All right. Next up, we have some policy reviews. So,
President Kaler, members of the board, the policy advisory team, as you've been reading and as we've been sharing with you, have been very, very busy. And we've been dividing and conquering and working through teams to bring some updates for you, because it's not just sometimes the policy, but it's also the regulation, the exhibits, and the supporting resources that we roll out so that we can ensure things are implemented once we adopt the policy. So this evening, Mr. Lotzenheiser and Mrs. Lindsay are going to share with you some of the work that we've done on here, our recommendations, and connecting with it because it references the regulation, what we are proposing for this policy.
Good evening, President Kaler, members of the board. Today we're bringing forward policy JRR, student surveys. This is a new survey, as we did not have a student survey policy in the past. So this is a new survey in response to ARS 15-117, which outlined different specific categories that we have to have approval from before we are allowed to survey. And so when you take a look at this policy, a teacher or other school employee may not administer any survey regarding ARS 15-117A without obtaining written authorization from the superintendent or designee. So our goal, when you look at the policy, is kind of short, and it references the regulation. So as Dr. Foley brought up earlier, normally we do not do it. However, we feel it's very important tonight that we present the policy, and I'll talk about that quickly. Then Mrs. Lindsay will show you the regulation that goes behind it and looking at it. We do have a process created that upon approval of this, we will roll out to our principals and then our teachers so that they will understand what the process is to go through to get a survey approved. We worked very closely with our attorneys, who's been working with our peer districts, and we compared a lot of different resources together to come up with our policy, which is very, very similar to our peer districts. So once again, this is in response to Arizona Revised Statute 15-117A, and I think, unfortunately, those numbers will become part of our everyday talk when we use the word survey from now on. So I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Lindsay, who will discuss the regulation.
Good evening, President Kaler and members of the board. The regulation of policy JRR student surveys speaks to the specifics of ARS 15-117. Highlights of the regulation and statute include no survey soliciting personal information about a pupil regarding any of the 14 listed categories that are listed for you on the regulation shall be conducted without being approved by the superintendent or their designee. Furthermore, a teacher or school staff member may not authorize a survey regarding ARS 15-117 without written authorization from the superintendent or their designee. The regulation also requires specific steps for parent consent prior to administration of a 15-117 survey, including providing specific information and details about the survey. The regulation includes a parent complaint procedure and an opt-out provision, which requires students receiving an alternate educational activity if they are not participating in the survey. As was mentioned, we have consulted with legal and drafted an internal process and a set of forms for operationalizing this regulation to ensure that we are in compliance. Any surveys that align with topics in the categories require district leadership approval, and in that case, we'd also get legal opinion before pursuing. Following adoption of this policy, district leadership will provide training to site administration on the internal process, which would then be rolled out to school staff. We're happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? I think we all studied this very deeply over the weekend and were able to understand it all. So I appreciate your further unpackaging it all. I don't think the attorneys thought we'd be here talking about surveys, but we are. So thank you for bringing this to us. And again, we don't normally have a policy that is an action or that is an information item and then brought to action, but because of the time of this being rolled out, we did want to bring it back quickly, so it's going to be an action item here in a few minutes. But first, we are going to talk about another policy. Mr. Walker, sorry. I looked over at you and then I didn't say anything.
Thank you, President Kaler, members of the board. I'm here tonight to present about the amendments to policy KI, which is visitors to the schools. It's a policy that we already have in place, but there's an amendment that's based on HB 2025 that amends ARS 15-341, section 46, talking about local governance of schools, that the governing board shall adopt a policy that requires accessibility to visitors for parents or prospective parents of students in our school district. It also requires that to be done in a governing board session, along with the availability of the policy on a homepage of the school site. Additionally, it also includes language that's amended to include the lifting of the mask requirement as a requirement to tour or visit a school. So it's KI that's already in place with those changes to it to be in compliance with the new legislative updates.
Any questions or concerns for Mr. Walker tonight? Any clarification needed? Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Thank you.
I know more policies are coming too. This is a constant ongoing committee, so. Okay, so I move, 7.1, I move that the governing board approves and waives the second reading of policy and approves policy JRR.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. And again, I move that the governing board, this is 7.2, I move that the governing board waive the second reading of the policy and then approve policy KI as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Future agenda items. Anything else the board would like to see for the future? You have one? Forgot it? Anything? We have some other things coming up. our middle school lease and our course guide. And we're also going to have our, it was our suicide risk assessment that was going to be tonight. We did move that for 2 weeks from tonight will be our work study. So that is also coming to us in just a couple weeks. All right. With that, I move that we adjourn to executive session. Adjourn to executive session with governing board's attorney pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And we will adjourn our regular meeting in our executive session. So thanks and good night.